Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days, brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and Live 365 on Chris Baker Radio. And our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines, drinkbloodoftyrants.com. With the promo code BASED, you're going to save 10% off your order at the checkout. drinkbloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED. You're going to save 10% off your order at the checkout. They got red and white wine. drinkbloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED. There's nothing like it. Well, maybe there is. I don't know. I'm not a big wino. I like a nice glass of wine, but it's genuinely one of the best glasses of wine I've ever had. I'm flying solo today because, well, not just me. Both of us are recovering from the flu. The flu hit our household. Remember a couple weeks ago I lost my voice? This was not that. The flu hit our household. I am not 100%. This is the weirdest I've gotten. Now, here's the thing. I was sick for like a day when I got it. Mia's been sick for a week. I was sick for like a day, which is pretty much on par for us. If I get something, she's going to get it way worse. She actually got it and gave it to me this time. And I was just kind of run down for a day. But this is the weirdest thing. The one symptom I can't kick, well, there's two, is this post-nasal drip, which I get every time I'm sick. And it's annoying. And I when I do get sick, I don't get sick for very long. I've got a pretty strong immune system. But this is the weirdest. I've never had this symptom being sick before. This is the strangest thing. The bottom of my mouth is like over salivating. I know, TMI, whatever. I don't care. We're all a family here, right? But the bottom of my mouth is like over salivating. So I'm constantly having to swallow. So if you find me breaking up my speech throughout the course of this expedited, compacted show here, that will be why. This is going to be my Jordan flu game today, okay? I'm playing hurt, all right? We got a lot to talk about. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We're not going to do current state of the left. It's just too much work for me to do it solo. I do have a guy that I can bring in here to be a backup producer, but I'm not bringing him in to our little flu den that we've got going on here. I don't want anyone to leave my house getting sick. So we've got a lot to talk about. First off, I want to talk about what's going on in Minneapolis and how this state is just burning to the ground up there. Can we talk about that for a minute? The whole state of Minnesota, but specifically the city of Minneapolis. This just shows how divided this country is. We played the video for you last week. I told you that lady shouldn't have been there. She also shouldn't have been shot. But I can see why the cop would have fired, because that's a split-second decision, and he doesn't have the opportunity to look down at the wheels and look at her. And no, he's got to decide, is it going to be me or this woman here? So here's the problem with this, though, is nuance has been completely removed from this situation. No one wants to be rational about this. Not no one. Everyone who's got a loud opinion on this has to be totally partisan one way or the other to the point they flush their brains down the toilet. Here's the thing. We all saw the same video. All right? It wasn't edited. There was no AI. We all saw the same video. 20% of the country saw a jackbooted fascist murderer that woke up in the morning and just wanted to murder somebody. And then 20% of the country saw that same video and saw a domestic terrorist driving her vehicle at ICE agents that were just out minding their own business going to lunch. Do you know what that tells us? That tells us that 40% of the country is retarded. Because the reality here is, as usual, somewhere in the middle. She absolutely should not have been there. That was probably on his end, if you break it down line by line, a bad shoot. Everyone could have done something differently to avoid this situation. But unfortunately, as in life, so many times we see this, those folks that were involved didn't do what they could do to avoid the situation, and now we're here. Now we're in an unfortunate, bad spot. And somebody's dead, and you don't think that cop's going to have, I know there's the talk about internal bleeding or whatever, but that ICE agent is going to be fucked up for the rest of his life. That guy's name is going to be drugged through the mud. Drugged through the mud for the rest of his life. He's got to go to sleep every night knowing he killed a woman. And he's going to have those thoughts in the back of his head, did I do the right thing every night for the rest of his life? When in the reality, there's a 99% chance the guy was just responding to a heat of the moment issue. It's not like he wanted to kill her. Now they're pointing to the fact that he said fucking bitch. Well, after he shot her. I don't think that's proof that he wanted to kill the lady. That's kind of how that's how men in high testosterone situations talk. Just yesterday, perfect example. Just yesterday, I went to go get Panera for lunch, and I'm backing out of the parking lot, and I'm backing out, and I see this woman backing into my car. And there's nothing I can do. It's too late. It's happening. I'm trying to turn out. I lay on my horn. Nothing I can do. Hear the crunch. She hits my car. I mean, we're going 2 miles an hour, so it's not like I'm hurt or anything like that. But as soon as she hits me, I go, you fucking bitch. That didn't mean I wanted to kill her. We both walked away from that fine. I didn't kill her. I got her insurance information, which she wasn't supposed to give me because she was driving some company's car. I got her insurance information, and we're good. That was it. But I said fucking bitch because she just hit my car. That's your reaction when someone drives a vehicle at you as a man, is to go fucking bitch. Yes. And she hit him. If you look in the video, she does hit the ICE agent, albeit not that hard. She hits him. Probably hurt a little bit. So you got this woman driving her car at you. She hits you. You pop a bunch of rounds off. Just testosterone. Men, that's what we do, is swear in those situations. Sorry. That's how we do it. Like, I've been walking down my driveway and slipped on the ice and fell on my ass and gone, God fucking damn it. I didn't say ow, but it still hurt. We just let these things out. That's how we cope with pain as men. I saw some study. It said profanity and yelling takes pain away by like 20 to 30%. I don't know if that's true, but I live by that. I live by that. So everyone's using the fact on the left that this woman said, and I quote, "I'm not mad at you," end quote, as proof that she was not trying to run him over. Because before the incident happened, she's on the cop's body cam, and she says, "I'm not mad at you, man." And they're trying to use that as proof that she wasn't trying to run him over. Now, I personally don't think that she was trying to run him over. Like I said, I think this was a very unfortunate incident that could have been avoided on all sides had she not been there, and the cops used a little bit more tactfulness as they approached that situation. I don't think she tried to run them over. But this idea that a woman saying the words, "I'm not mad at you," is somehow proof that she wasn't angry. Whoever's running with that theory has never interacted with a woman in their life before. Because I can tell you right now, the words, "I'm not mad at you," 70% of the time means she is indeed mad about something. You're not, the men that are running with that as proof that this woman wasn't upset with this cop are clearly not married. I can tell you right now. Because if a woman says, "I'm not mad at you," go flip a coin, bro. Just like the word fine, the worst 4-letter F word in the English language. So this is Just an unfortunate situation. So then we have now anything ICE does is going to get put under a microscope, and people are going to look at it as proof that they're jackbooted thugs and fascists and whatever. So we had ICE up in Minneapolis because Trump is never going to be one to back down in a situation like this. You know, you've got Tampon Tim out saying we're going to go to war with the National Guard and all this shit. Donald Trump isn't going to back down. He's going to be like, all right, bet. Dude, Tampon Tim, think about this for a second. Look at the state of the world. Do you really think Donald Trump is going to blink on this? Donald Trump had a communist dictator with an entire army and plus all the drug cartels at his disposal, mocking him, saying, you're a pussy, you won't come get me, come do it, on television every single day. And I don't know if you've checked the news, but he went in and got him. Do you really think that sitting here taunting him, pounding on your chest like a big dumb gorilla in front of the camera is going to work, especially when you're Tim Walz? You're not this big macho tough guy. At least Gavin Newsom's kind of got that like American Psycho thing about him where he might just be crazy enough to do something like that. Not Tim Walz. There's no one on the planet other than peewee football players that are in a locker room that are intimidated by Coach Sandusky, Tampon Tim Walz. I promise you. There's just, between him and Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, there's no testosterone at all between the two of them. They've got none. The level is zero up there. So Tampon Tim Walz goes on and says, you know, we're at war with the federal government. We're going to, you know, deploy the National Guard. It's Civil War 2.0. I mean, he's literally saying this. Fry's on television telling ICE to get the fuck out, saying we're going to fight federal agents. Just unhinged shit from local officials. And Trump looks at these two pussies, because that's what they are, and goes, oh, really? Of course he's going to increase the presence of ICE up there. And that's exactly what he did. So now everything ICE does is going to get scrutinized under a microscope. And you've got these ICE agents, they go up to Venezuela or to Minneapolis, and there's a guy up there from Venezuela. He's in the country illegally, and he's wanted on some warrant. So they go to get the guy. And the guy allegedly comes out and hits the agent with a shovel, resisting arrest. Agents shoot him and kill him. Now, let me give you guys a little bit of advice. This is not the unsolicited advice segment. Yes, we missed that because we had the flu on Wednesday. This is not the unsolicited advice segment, but I will give you some unsolicited advice. This is free game that'll come in handy later on in life. If you are dealing with a member of law enforcement, it can be a Fed, it can be a local cop, it can be mall security, and they're armed, and you hit them with the shovel, you're going to die. If you're just dealing with the random dude that's armed, and you hit him with a shovel, you're probably going to die. When you hit people with, haven't you seen, what's that Sean Connery movie? God, I forget the name of it. God damn it. The Sean Connery movie, The Untouchables, about Elliot Ness, just like a guinea to bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, I'm an Italian. I can say that, by the way. A shovel to a gunfight is slightly better than a knife, but it's still not going to win. So when you bring a shovel to a gunfight and you see it through to its conclusion, you're going to get killed. That's how that's going to end for you. About 97% of the time, the guy you're swinging at is going to shoot you and kill you. The other 3% of the time, he's going to have another guy with him that's going to shoot you and kill you before the shovel connects with his partner. You do not survive a fight where you hit guys with guns with a shovel. There was a video that went viral like 8 years ago. Some of you guys might remember this. It was an epic video. It was very meme worthy. Where you had these guys in Texas. It was this father and son. And they had this really white trash neighbor. He was a convicted meth addict, domestic abuser, just a piece of shit. And they had this dispute with the guy over trash. He kept throwing trash in a dumpster in the alley behind their house. And finally, they just had enough. And it boiled over, and the father and son came out. The son had a shotgun, the father had a handgun, and the meth head guy and his wife is recording him, because that's how you know you got a bad woman. When she's not there to talk you off the edge, you know, you're acting like a fool in a situation that's going to get you killed. This guy brought a baseball bat to a gunfight. You've got this woman that's sitting there recording you and just egging the situation on. She's not trying to talk you down. She's not trying to defuse the situation that's inevitably going to get her husband killed. She's just throwing gasoline on the fire. That's what a bad woman looks like. Stay away from those toxic harpies, folks, or gentlemen. So the guy first off, throws his baseball bat at them, and they just pump him full of lead. Pump him full of lead. Now, was it worth it to shoot the guy over trash? No. But the whole situation could have been avoided had he not brought a baseball bat to a gunfight. If you're mad at your neighbor, I would always encourage that you settle the dispute civilly. Talk it out like adults. However, if the time for talking is over and you're just so enraged, which I would never encourage you to do this, but you're just so enraged, you're like, I'm bringing a baseball bat and I'm getting in their faces and we're going to settle this. And you show up to the dispute and they've got a gun, turn around and walk away. That would be my advice to you. Do not bring blunt objects to gunfights. You will lose every time. And that's what this guy in Minneapolis did. So now we're supposed to riot over this because they're up serving a legitimate warrant on a violent fugitive that's not even supposed to be in this country. And they're going to get upset about that because that's how the hive mind works. You guys watch Stranger Things? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. That's how the hive mind works. Excuse me. Sorry. When you're given marching orders, no matter how absurd those orders are, you have to fight to the death. The other side is bad no matter what. You are good no matter what. That's what happens when we have a bunch of adult children that have grown up watching these Marvel movies where good and evil are just black and white. And everything this side does is good, and it's justified, and the ends always justify the means, and everything the other side does is pure evil for the sake of evil. That's it. There's no debate. That's what those movies teach. Don't let your kids watch. Okay, you can let your kids watch those movies, but throw in something with a little bit more realism to it. Throw in some movies with a little bit more gray area so they don't grow up with the grasp of an 8-year-old on how society works. Because that's what you're seeing with these people on the left. There's a huge correlation to these people on the left that are totally irrational in their political and social worldviews. And they're also obsessed with these Marvel movies. I know several of them. I'm related to some of them. These people that are obsessed with these movies. Because they've gotten their ideas for how the world should work on pop culture, from pop culture. Because they don't get out and they don't interact with real people. They sit there on the internet and they watch movies and TV and whatever. They don't have any interaction with actual human beings. So their entire worldview is shaped by these oversaturated superhero movies that really were never that good to begin with. Like Iron Man was cool. You could have stopped after the second one. Why do we have to do all this crap? I haven't seen one of these movies in years. But that's the thing here. You know, and we've got Tim Walz coming out. So he came out last week and said that they need to go to war with the federal government. Trump said, all right, bet. Called his bluff. Like I said, everything goes back to poker. Everything goes back to poker, ladies and gentlemen. Trump called his bluff, and Tampon Tim goes, oh, shit. And next thing you know, he's out doing the press tour, making social media posts, begging for Donald Trump to turn the temperature, for Trump to turn the temperature down. Sweetheart, you turned it up. This is what you thought you wanted. It wasn't what you actually wanted, and you found that out real quick. But this is what you thought you wanted. You were on, what happened to that tough guy, Tim? You were out on TV saying, we're going to deploy the nasty guard. We're going to go to war with the federal government. Now you're on here begging for Trump to turn the temperature down. You never should have turned it up. That's the guy who walks up to you in the bar, gets in your face, and then you jack him in the mouth. He started the fight, swinging on you. You jack him in the mouth one time. All of a sudden, he falls over and doesn't want the smoke anymore. Whoa, man. Whoa, can't we work this out? No, yeah. We could have worked this out when you decided not to throw the first punch at me, dick. Now it's on. That's Tampon Tim Walz right now. That's where he's at. This guy started it, realized he wasn't cut out for it. The kitchen was a little bit hotter than he thought it was, wanted to get out and saw that the door was blocked. Oops. You better put that fire out now, Timmy. What's hilarious to me is these people a couple of weeks ago or months ago were freaking out about the National Guard. The idea of the National Guard being deployed on the streets was, tyranny. It was a police state, fascism when it came to fighting crime. But when it comes to protecting fraudsters, all of a sudden that's okay. By the way, speaking of the fraud up there, speaking of the fraud up in Minneapolis, I thought the Biden administration hired 87,000 IRS agents. Didn't they hire 87,000 IRS agents? How did not one of those, what were they doing for 4 years? How did not one of those people catch on to any of this fraud up in Minnesota? No, they're too busy out terrorizing grandma because she accidentally claimed $50 more in medical expenses this year. They're out harassing small business owners, just about absurd deductions. Little nitpicky shit. But they wouldn't dare look into the fraud. Listen, guys. If it were just one case up there where you had one guy committing fraud, I'd be like, all right, whatever. Shit happens. That's part of the game, is there's going to be fraud in any industry. When it was so concentrated to one area and one community and had been going on for so long, for so much money, there's just no way they get away with it unless people let them get away with it on purpose. People within both the local, the state, and the federal government had to not only know this was going on, but actively turn a blind eye to it for this to happen as long as it did, to the tune of as much money as it did. There's no other way it happened. No chance. No chance whatsoever. And now, these same people that failed to investigate any of this fraud are telling the feds, you need to let us investigate this ICE shooting of Renee Good locally here. We need to investigate this locally. This should be our case. Yeah, because you've had such a great track record recently, haven't you guys? With such investigations. I mean, I'm sorry. In this country, you get a fair trial. You're guaranteed a fair trial, whether you're a citizen or a migrant or an ICE agent or whatever. Everyone's guaranteed a fair trial. How on earth is this ICE agent supposed to get a fair trial in the state of Minnesota when you've got the governor, the mayor, and the chief of police all on national television calling you a murderer? He's not a murderer. He is a killer. He killed somebody. Murder is a very specific definition. It's a crime that one has to be convicted of before you can call him that. So you've got people that have already made up their mind that he did what they said he did. How is he ever going to get a fair investigation or a fair trial up there? No chance. There's no chance that guy gets a fair investigation. No chance. He's not going to jail. I'd bet top dollar that guy doesn't go to jail. Up there. And then we had this in Lincoln, Nebraska. You've got ICE showing up, serving a warrant at a guy's house with Lincoln PD in the middle of the night. and protesters are out there yelling and screaming and throwing shit at him. They were there to get this guy who was a domestic abuser. Are you guys pro-domestic abuse now? Do you think we should have more domestic abusers in the country? Is that your argument? You're pro-domestic? Yeah, it is their argument. Because their entire, like I said last week, their entire worldview is summed up by whatever Trump is against. They have no values. They have no principles. They stand for nothing. They are nothing. Their entire worldview boils down to they are for whatever Trump isn't, and vice versa. These people don't think for themselves. They don't act for themselves. They don't speak for themselves. As much as they claim that people in MAGA are in a cult, which they're not, they've gotten pretty pissed at Trump over the last couple of months, if you paid any attention to it. As much as they claim that MAGA is a cult of personality surrounded around Trump, it's the opposite. They are. They're the ones with the cult of personality. They're the ones whom the words and actions of a single man can sway their opinion in an instant without giving it a second thought. They're the ones in the cult. And this is going to be a real problem because the temperature does have to get turned down. When you speak to some of these riots and these protests like you're seeing up in Minnesota, you're seeing these HR ladies and just beta males. And I don't like the alpha beta thing, but if there's ever been a time for the word beta, it's this. You see these HR ladies and beta males, theater kids basically, screaming in the faces of armed federal agents, trying to start confrontation with them. You know, for people that cry about privilege a lot, that really shows their privilege off. Because it shows those are people that have never had a consequence for anything in their life. You can take kids that were born in some of the poorest parts of this country, and they'll tell you right now, you don't put hands on a cop, because they've seen what happens when you put hands on a cop. I mean, these are people that, and this is the problem. This is the problem with raising such a weak society. With you get these people that get in these guys' faces and they're screaming at them, they're shoving them, they're doing whatever because they've never been punched in the face before. That's the problem, is you can tell that not enough kids got punched in the face growing up over the last 20 years. Not enough people over the last 20 to 30 years got punched in the face, or they would not be screaming in the faces of these federal agents. They didn't grow up fighting. They didn't grow up playing contact sports. None of that. Because these are delusional morons that think they can fight these people. I mean, remember that when that trend was going around? About the people on TikTok talking about how they were going to fight ICE agents and just ridiculous shit like that. The cute winter boots or whatever. And it was some morbidly obese third grade teacher. If ICE comes into my classroom, they're going to have to get through me. They're just going to roll you over like the blueberry girl and fucking Willy Wonka, bitch. Get out of the classroom and shut up. And they do. I think these people really do believe, these people that have never been in a fight before, these people that are against owning guns, these people that think working out and learning how to fight is toxic masculinity, I think they genuinely do believe, because they have this hero fantasy, goes back to the Marvel movie obsession. They've got this fantasy in their heads that they would actually be able to take these people in a fight. Let me tell you, it's not like the movies. This is not a Steven Seagal situation where the bad guys, quote unquote, are going to come at you one by one and you fight them all off like that. That's not going to happen. Okay, they're going to mob you and kick the shit out of you while you're on the ground puking up your own blood. I've seen it happen. That's how that ends when you try to fight a group of people, specifically people who are bigger than you, in better shape than you, and actually know how to fight. They're going to grab you, they're going to pummel you, they're going to throw you to the ground, and they're going to kick your throat in until you vomit up blood. Like I said, I've seen it happen. I wasn't on either end of it, thank God. Because that's my thing. Is that where I grew up with consequences, both in my house and just out and about with friends and playing sports and everything. I know that if I put hands on another grown man, there's a real good chance he's throwing them back. Right? So if I'm going to be at a point where I'm fighting mad, I better be committed to take a punch from you. And these people aren't. And that's why you see that is they'll put their hands on these ICE agents and they'll pepper spray them and they'll throw themselves on the ground and flail around, or if they get shoved over or whatever, they'll act like they just got shot. They'll flail around on the ground. They couldn't believe he just did that. Whereas people like me that watch that are like, yeah, what did you think was going to happen? Of course that was going to happen to you. Of course he was going to do that to you. I'm surprised he restrained himself as much as he did. The whole thing's just insane, man. It's insane. You know what? Maybe it'll be good for these people to get knocked away. It won't be, because they'll go back to their little circle jerks and they'll tell them, oh, I can't believe that toxic monster would do that to you. Blah, 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 blah. It's just totally insane. Totally insane, man. Let's see. What do we got next here? Sorry, we're not going to talk about Ashley St. Clair. I am burnout talking about this internet drama with crazy women. You guys can go find a podcast that gives a damn about it. By the way, I know I said I'd stop talking about Candace Owens, and I am. I'm not dedicating another segment to her, but I don't know if you've seen the latest news on her, but she's now claiming that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler who had stolen ancient Sumerian technology from the CIA. Come back in time. The CIA was monitoring his every move because they were worried about his, stealing of the ancient Sumerian technology. And they were trying to save him, the CIA was. But then he was assassinated by aliens. That, paraphrasing, but that's what she said on the air this week. So to all you guys that were calling me a blind or a sheep or a cock or whatever, because I was telling you the truth from the beginning, which is that woman is out of her goddamn mind. You can either apologize to me or forever hold your peace, because I don't want to hear it. Oh my God. I mean, it just, what on earth, dude? If you're still falling for this grip, you legitimately need to check yourself into a mental institution. Seriously. All right, this next one here is New York Post. It's a survey that went out. Sorry, I'm trying to get my... God damn it. It's like it comes and goes, you know what I mean? The stupid flu. It's the weirdest thing I've ever had. I've never had a flu with these symptoms before. Dude, look, don't quit teasing me, okay? If I'm gonna be sick, let me be sick. Let me be bound to the couch, 101 degree fever, aches, vomiting, chills, hot flashes. Let me have all that. Don't give me this crap where I'm like drowning in my own saliva. This is the weirdest thing I've ever had. Gen Z is ghosting their jobs, ditching bosses, and chasing side hustles. New survey reveals. By the way, unrelated, average age of a new homeowner this year, 52 years old. So fun. It says, oh, come on. This fucking iPad from 1996. Gen Z is ghosting the workplace. Nearly 60% of Gen Z workers say their job is a situationship, a short-term setup they never plan to stick with. According to a new survey, found nearly half, 47%, plan to leave within a year. And nearly 1 in 4 are ready to quit without notice. And many already have, with roughly 30% admitting to simply walking out without warning, 2-week notice, or a goodbye email. Now, I saw another article, possibly related, that said Gen Z is in the middle of a hiring collapse while older generations are seeing surges. Could those two be related? Could they? Could there be some possible correlation to you just walking out of a job and companies discriminating against you based on your age? Could that be the case? I know people that hire Gen Z, and I mean, I'm sure you all have Gen Z kids in your life. You know this to be true. Gen Z, I think it's like 99 through, I want to say 2012. Maybe, I don't know. I know I'm on the edge of being a millennial and I'm 95, so. But Gen Z is like 97, 98. And you guys know this to be true too. I've said this on the show before. Gen Z are either the smartest, most motivated kids you will ever meet, who know that they have the world at their fingertips and they've embraced it and found a way to hone in their skills with it. Or they are the laziest, most worthless sacks of shit you will ever encounter in your life, and there is absolutely no middle ground. Millennials, Gen X, even the boomers, we all kind of straddled the fence. For the most part, millennials and Gen X, they were the people that we would go to work and we would shut up and we would go home and have a life outside of it, and that was it. Gen Z, either work from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, or never go to work. And there's no in between with them. The extremes have become the normal. The outliers have become the moderate position with Gen Z. It says the average, oh, God damn it, this thing is like frozen. I need a new iPad. If you want to donate to help me get a new iPad, you can go to firecracker.farm and use the promo code BASED, BASED, at the checkout on hot salt. Hot salt's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and ghost pepper, and it goes great on everything. Go to firecracker.farm right now. Use the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show at the checkout. You're going to save 10% off your order of hot salt, and it's going to help me buy a new iPad so I don't have to pause in the middle of the show while this fucking piece of shit takes its sweet-ass time to load. I don't think it's the iPad. I think it's the website right now. New York Post, you fucking suck. Here's the thing about Gen Z, because I see where they're coming from. They just take it to an extreme. They do, and part of it's their parents' fault. I want to make that clear. I went into a business to do some business not too long ago. And this girl walks in, and I had always thought that this was just, you'd see these surveys that would say this shit, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever. But you never actually saw it. But I was in there waiting to be seen by the person I was there to see. It was not a massage parlor. Calm down. This girl walks in. She's like 20 years old. Asked to speak with the manager because she has an interview today. And there's an older gentleman there with her. Not older, but middle-aged, who appears to be related to her. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's, it's one of those places where they have entry-level college kids working there. Maybe it's her first interview. She's a little nervous, whatever. Guy sits down. I'm sitting there waiting. Sits down with her, next to her. Manager walks out and says, hi, are you so-and-so? Yeah, that's me. Both the manager and the girl spoke perfect English. There was no translator situation or anything like that going on. The guy gets up, follows her into the manager's. She brought her fucking dad to the job interview. She brought her dad to the job interview. Not just to the job interview, to sit in on the job interview. And that's the problem, is you got a lot. The boomers were known for just punishment and being kind of cold as parents, right? You can look that up. There's numbers and data that back that up. I'm not just making them up. But the boomers were known for being kind of cold as parents. And what happened was the kids that got raised by those people turned around and did the exact opposite, and they coddled their kids, and they raised a generation of pussies. There's no situation, unless you're deaf and need a translator, where your dad should be going to a job interview with you. I wouldn't even drive my kid to a job interview. You better figure it out. You want to work? I ain't going to be there to drive you. I got shit to do. You better figure out how to get to work. Going to have a hard time going to work if you don't have reliable transportation, aren't you? I wouldn't drive my kid to it. Their mom would. But I wouldn't. That's the important thing. She would cave, I know. But you hear this all the time, is they've been coddled, and we've just bastardized mental health in this country to a point where it's disgusting. Where, I mean, once again, a perfect example of overcorrection, where it used to be nobody ever talked about mental health at all until people legitimately just snapped and lost it. And now we just coddle people. Oh, my anxiety. I'm sad. I have depression. No, you're not. You're a pussy. Anxiety, depression, part of life, part of being an adult. How do you manage it? We all have both of those things. We all deal with spells of both of those things. You just really suck at managing them. And it's not entirely your fault. You grew up with parents that coddled you, and they didn't put you in situations where you had to learn coping skills. I get it. I understand it's not your fault, but you are still a pussy, and you get to sit there and wallow in your pussy piss puddle that you've made for yourself. Congratulations. You got to start hanging these kids out to dry. Now, on the flip side, when you look at their perspective about jobs, for the record, I'm not going to say never, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Unless you've got a job that is just treating you like complete shit, you should put in a 2-week notice. I learned a long time ago. I was like 17 when I learned this. You never burn any bridges if you can avoid it. There are some bridges that just have to be burned. And those bridges that you need to burn, I don't even call that burning a bridge. I just call it not keeping up with the maintenance of the bridge, shutting it off so cars can't drive over it, and letting it collapse. I don't call that burning a bridge. Burning a bridge is where you go out of your way to set it on fire when you didn't have to. You shouldn't burn bridges. You never know when you're going to need that guy you met at a job when you were 19 years old. Maybe he's got some career and you just got laid off, or you're looking for a career change or whatever, and you text him and boom, I know people that have literally done that. So you shouldn't burn bridges. But I understand their lack of loyalty to these companies. And I actually agree with that. Because these kids, and you'll see this with younger millennials like myself as well, these kids that grew up during the recession of '08, a lot of them, myself included, watched their parents lose jobs during that time period. And that did two things with us. If you were a teenager in that like '08 through 2011 time period, two things happened to you. Number one, you became really conservative with your money. People my age are a little scared to put money into the stock market. That we tend to go more toward bonds and savings. The other thing is you don't really have a lot of loyalty to companies because the wool was pulled over our eyes back then. And we really saw how these companies viewed a lot of their employees. They didn't hate them. There wasn't like an active disdain for them. But at the end of the day, you were expendable the moment that bottom line was threatened. And a lot of us saw our parents break their backs for these companies, working unpaid overtime on salary jobs, busting their asses, going the extra mile for these companies that the moment shit got rough, turned around and fed them to the fucking lions. And we said, mama raised a problem, not a fool. That ain't gonna be me. That is not gonna happen to me. Again, you shouldn't burn the bridge with your employer. You shouldn't take advantage of them and steal from them or embezzle or time theft or whatever. But this idea that there's this loyalty to a company that you owe them is bullshit. You can go back even further. I mean, these people watch their grandparents work for the same company for 40, 50 years. And then, they busted their ass, destroyed their bodies in a lot of cases doing it. And that whole time, there was a handshake agreement between the company and the employee called a pension. And that pension said, we're going to take care of you and your family as a thank you for all the hard work you've put into us when you decide to retire. We're going to take care of you. And a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, when it came time to collect that pension, that company looked in the pension fund and went, oh, we don't know where the money went. Sorry. And nothing happened because it was a handshake agreement. So you've got people that have watched multiple generations of their family get absolutely bent over and fucked in the ass by these big companies who they poured their heart and soul into, that are just scorned by that. And because of that, they have no loyalty to a company to a fault. And I don't blame them for that, man. I don't. I think loyalty is important when it's a two-way street. And that's in anything. That's in business, dating, friendships, everything. Loyalty only works when it's a two-way street. If loyalty is a one-way street, that's not loyalty. That's you being taken advantage of. That is a con job. So I agree with Gen Z on this. I think part of the other problem with Gen Z is they look at this state of the housing market and they go, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm never going to own a home. Not in this climate, I'm not. What the hell am I going to do? I mean, we just said the average, I started the segment off with that. You're welcome. Teased it a little foreshadowing there. They look at the housing market, the average age of a new homeowner is like in their 50s now, and they go, I'm never going to be able to afford that. And they're probably not wrong. They're probably not wrong. If you are right now coming out of college, I'm talking 21 to 22 years old, you are getting it from both ends. Just Statue of Liberty. That was an inappropriate reference. If you don't know what that means, don't look it up. Statue of Liberty from both ends. Or no, Eiffel Tower. My bad. Not Statue of Liberty. Been out of the game for too long. You're getting Eiffel Towered from both ends by AI and outsourcing. So you've got these kids that are 21, 22, 23 years old, $60,000 in debt, looking for a job in their major. And when they graduate college to look for that job, a lot of those entry-level jobs have been taken up by people in other countries or computers. There weren't mass layoffs. They just slowly phased those jobs out as people left the company or moved up or whatever the case may be. So these kids are fucked. These kids don't have an in with a company to work their way up, and every job that they want to get that's within the realm of their major, now that the entry level's been removed, is telling them you need 3 to 5 years of experience in this job. And they're like, well, I would like to, but there's no entry level positions. And that's where the problem lies. That's where, I mean, dude, we haven't even seen the beginning of this. There's an entire generation of kids that has just gotten a raw deal with this college shit and with employment. And I don't even know if they're Gen Z. I think that might be Gen Alpha at this point. I don't know how it works. I don't know the age demographics, but we're just now seeing the beginning of it. I mean, you wonder why people like Nick Fuentes and Zoran Mamdani are so popular among the youths. Opposite ends of the spectrum. It's almost horseshoe theory. They come back together. It's because you've pushed them there. You've pushed them to these levels of extremism where they see a system where they did everything they were supposed to do. Everything they had been told was the right thing to do since kindergarten. They did it. And then they get out and they get fucked. And now they've got $60,000, if they're lucky, in student loan debt. And they're being told to go figure that out for yourselves. I mean, I might want to burn the whole thing to the ground too if I were in that situation. I kind of feel for them in a weird way. That's not the way to go about doing it, but I would be furious. You got conned by teachers, by parents, by counselors, people that you thought were supposed to be looking out for you. And they all have different motives to do it. I mean, the teachers and the counselors have to keep up the educational industrial complex. The schools want to make money. And the parents, let's be honest, parents, if you're pressuring your kid to go to college, be honest. Be honest with yourselves. If that kid doesn't actually want to go to college and you're telling them they just need to go get some bullshit business degree that's going to be obsolete 2 years into the program, if you're telling your kids you want them to go to college, that's for you. It's not for them. You want to be able to go to dinner with the Petersons next weekend and go, our daughter got accepted into Stanford, when they try to bring up what their kids are doing. That's what it's really about. That's like when a guy buys a woman a $15,000 necklace. That necklace ain't for the woman. That necklace is so when they go out with their friends, he can show all his buddies and their wives how much money he makes that he can afford a $15,000 diamond necklace. Be honest with yourselves. Listen, if you're not going to push your kid, if you're going to push your kids to do something they don't want to do, so it can be a pet project for you, some type of flex item, you better be damn well willing to foot the bill on that. Otherwise, you're a shitty parent. You are. Now, fortunately, my kids will get into college for free because of their race. So it's never a situation I'm going to have to deal with like you guys. So I don't fucking care. But no, we've talked about this. We're not going to pressure our kids to go to college. We're not. If they want to go to college, then great. I want to know why you want to go to college. If my daughter comes to me and says, I want to go study art history in college, I'm going to say absolutely not. I'm not. It's not a matter of I'm going to discourage you from doing that. You're a child. I'm an adult. Your brain is not fully developed. It is still my job as your parent to tell you, to protect you from bad decisions. You are not going to go to school for a worthless degree. You are not going to accumulate 5 to 6 figures worth of debt for something that you will never be able to pay off. It is my responsibility as a parent to protect you from bad decisions that have long-lasting effects. The same way I'm not going to let my 17-year-old go get a face tattoo, I'm not going to let them go to school and rack up $100,000 worth of debt. At least the face tattoo you can laser off when you realize what a stupid idea it was. And by the way, it always is. If you ever get a face tattoo, it's a stupid idea. There's never been a situation in the history of man. I say this, I'm covered, bro. I'm covered, right? There's never been a situation in the history of mankind where someone's gotten a face tattoo and it's been a good idea. Don't ever do it. But at least that you can laser off when you realize how idiotic you were being when you got it. The debt's going to follow you forever. And now guess what? They're collecting on it. They're garnishing wages, sweetheart. There's nothing you can do to escape Sally Mae. All because your parents didn't tell you, no, you're not going to school for $70,000 a year to get a degree in gender studies. It's not happening. We're not going to discourage our kids from going to college. If they want to be doctors or teachers or lawyers, what great. Go do that. I would love that. But we're also going to tell them, hey, it's not college or bust. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. We would be a lot worse off had I finished my degree and stayed on when I was going to college and stayed on the course to go into the career field that I was studying for. We would be so much worse off. We would not own a home. We would be in no position to responsibly have children for 15 years. I'm 30. 15 years from right now, we would be in no position. We would be fucked. And that's really what it's all about. That's really what it all boils down to with all of the shit they do is population control. Just kneecapping you along the way. Taking up all those years where you're fertile and you've got the energy, equally as important, to take care of young kids and teenagers, just slowly chipping away at them, making you work your way out of this debt and making it that much harder to buy a house and get your footing in a career. That's what this is really all about. With what these psychopath elites that have pushed this agenda on us through our schools and through our media and through our politicians. It's about depopulating the planet. It's about limiting how many people have children, because that's what happens. You're 22 years old. I mean, people used to have kids not too long ago at 22, 23 years old. Now you're 22 years old and you're getting out and you're like, fuck, I'm strapped with debt and I can't find a job. Now you're living with your parents till you're 26. Not because you're a bum. Not because you want to sit around and watch porn and smoke weed all day. You did all the right things. You applied yourself. You dedicated your time. You went to school. You did what you were told. And then nothing. And then you got fucked over. You got out of the other end. There was this light at the end of the tunnel, and there was just nothing. It was an empty field, and you don't know what to do. So now you're going to sit there with your parents. You're going to bounce from shitty job to shitty job that has nothing to do with your major, all while you're paying just at the interest. Let's be honest. You're chipping away at a $60,000 debt. You're probably paying $500 a year toward the principal because you can barely even afford to pay your bills living at home with your parents. And what is that? I mean, let's not even talk about the psychological effects of that. It makes these kids get depressed. They get lonely. They don't know how to interact with others. Rolls around, you're 30, 31 years old, and you're finally getting on your feet. You've made a dent in the debt. You've moved out. You've gotten your way into the career. You meet a woman, and she's got, what, 5-6 years left of childbearing age? You better get moving quick. But nobody wants to move that quickly anymore. Everyone's got to date and live together and play house for a couple of years first. And because it's so expensive to have a wedding and it's so expensive. So that you finally marry the girl. You're 33 years old living in an apartment together. And you think you want to have a kid, but nobody wants to have kids in an apartment complex. It's tight. It's smelly. It's weird. There's a bunch of creeps in the area. So you decide you got to afford to buy a house, right? Well, the housing prices have skyrocketed 500% in the last 30, 40 years. So what the hell are you going to do there? You got to save up and up, or you can go and get an FHA loan where you're going to end up paying another $500 a month in mortgage insurance. So she's got to go out, or you've got to go out and you've got to get a second job. You get a second job. You finally get the house. You're 36 years old. Maybe you're going to get one kid out of it. Maybe at 36 years old. And even then, it's going to be kind of a high-risk pregnancy. So you get the kid at 36 years old that you can't afford to have because you're paying the mortgage insurance on the house that you paid way over market value for at a 9.5% interest rate. because, you know, Trump made the banks cap their credit cards. So now what the hell are you going to do? You can't afford that kid. You really didn't even know if you actually wanted to at this point because it's just going to break you financially. So you go out and you get a second job. So now you got a kid that's being raised by the school system in what's basically a single mother because dad goes to work from 9 to 5 and is working a part-time job 4 other nights out of the week because that's the only way they can afford to feed that kid and not get evicted from their house and have a foreclosure on it. And it's all because they put this giant scam together. This giant scam together. Once upon a time, and it wasn't too long ago, you used to be able to feed a family of 5 on a single income while owning property. You don't hate the people enough that took this from you. You don't hate them enough. I think I've made my point on that. What else do we got? James Fishback. He is a Republican candidate for governor of Florida. Yes, Florida. He is running to be governor of the singer, popular in the 2010s, that you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Oh, I'm going to show you how to do it, and we'll start real slow. You just put your lips together, and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby, Here we go. That song was big when I was in high school. It's a nostalgia trip for me every time I hear it. I wanted to sing the entire chorus for you. But Fishback is running for governor of Florida, and he has got an interesting new proposition for the people of Florida. He says he wants to tax the income of OnlyFans whores in the state of Florida at 50%. 50, not 15, 50. Now, I'm going to look up the comment from one of the top models on OnlyFans, and I got to be careful here because I don't want Mia seeing this in my internet search history and coming back and asking what the hell I was watching in a couple hours here. But I'm going to find the quote from her so I can read it for you. This is funny. New York Post's article on this says OnlyFans stars moan about proposed Florida sin tax. It says, Republican hopeful James Fishback's eyebrow-raising proposal is targeted at both OnlyFans creators and the sick men online who buy their shapely wares. I don't want young women who could otherwise be mothers raising families, rearing children. I don't want them to be selling their bodies to sick men online, and I don't want young, impressionable men who are straight from Christ to be told and drawn into lust and have their entire brain rewired, said Fishback, 31, a political newcomer and investment company CEO who previously hosted free speech debate tournaments in Florida. Says, yes, as governor of Florida, I will raise OnlyFans earnings tax. I will institute a 50% tax on all income derived from OnlyFans. Sophie Rain, the 21-year-old OnlyFans whore, replies, I pay my taxes. I've paid millions of taxes. And it's just not logical. Rain, who famously says she's still a virgin, doesn't appreciate Fishback's brazen judgment. I was raised Christian my entire life. I went to church every Sunday, so I was taught to love thy neighbor. Obviously, the teachings didn't get that far. You went to church every Sunday, and now you sell your body online. Obviously, they didn't get through to you. This is what he's saying invalidates him as a Christian. He could have... Coming from her? What he's saying invalidates him as a Christian. He could have gone about it a better way than to call me a whore and say I have a degenerate job. I'm sorry? Is it not true? Invalidates him as a Christian. Oh my God, could you imagine if like Michaela Kavanaugh came out and told someone, that invalidates you as a thin person? Who the fuck are you to say that to me, you cow? Who are you? Invalidates him as a Christian. Unbelievable. You know what? I disagree with this guy, with this Fishback guy, 50%. Disagree. It should be far higher than that. Let's go to let's do the Bernie Sanders approach. Let's do 90%. 90% of your income that you make on not just OnlyFans, any porn, whatever website you're on, 90% of it we're going to tax. And I love the clapback to this. The clapback to this is, well, if you do that in Florida, the OnlyFans models are just going to move out of Florida. Yeah, that's kind of the point, bro. That's what he's getting at. He can't make it illegal, so he's just going to drive them out economically. That's kind of the point. That's like when we put restrictions on abortion and transgender crap for kids. When we put those restrictions in place in red states, and the Democrats go, you're just doing this to push us out of the state, so we'll move away. Yeah. That's not the number one reason we're doing it, but it's number two. Yeah. I'm pretty transparent about that. We just want you to leave. So this Fishback guy who's running for governor of Florida, he's probably not going to win the primary, but he's running for governor of Florida. He's going, yeah, that's correct. We just don't want you here. That's more or less what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to push the rot and filth out of my state. Yes, I understand. So don't come at me with the economics textbooks and what, well, if you do that, they're just going to go to a state where the tax is lower and blah, 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 blah. I know. That's the point. This isn't me trying to raise a bunch of money for socialized health care. The point is to get them the fuck out of the state. Leave. Go to California where they want that degenerate filth, where they want to host women that are responsible for the poisoning of minds of young men. Go there. We don't want you. We'll be better off without you. I promise you. Truly. I just love the... Listen, I'm not one of these people that actually thinks... I don't think porn should be illegal, right? I don't think it works. I think, unfortunately, when you make it illegal, it opens up a black market where people get it, because just like anything else, where people get exposed to maybe some more extreme things. People who just would have watched your generic whatever's out there are going to are going to see things that are a little bit more extreme. And when you have, it's just like any other drug, when you get exposed to more extreme drugs, you just need more and more and more and more. So instead of just smoking the joint, now they're shooting black tar heroin. But I can understand not wanting your state to be a hub for it. And Florida has become exactly that. Florida, specifically Miami, is a hub for that. For porn. It's a porn hub. Ha ha. Funny. I can understand saying, hey, look, we don't want to be known for this. There is a semblance of societal decay that comes with being that closely associated to that industry. I can understand why, I can understand why this guy doesn't want that in his state. I get it. So we'll see what happens with it. The guy's not going to win. Even if he did, there's no way in hell this would get passed. I just think it's anytime. I just think it's funny because we've talked about the bartender class on this show before. Anytime porn is even remotely threatened, I just think it's funny to see these people that come out of the woodwork and attack the people that are proposing even the most reasonable restrictions, like ID verification for it. It's like, why? I think it's important that we threaten this industry every now and then because it's important to remind people that literal demons walk among you. Literal demons. I mean, this woman's really going to pull out the Bible and try to use Christianity to beat this guy over the head with to defend her selling her body. That's a demon. That's someone who, fuck this, I'm not even speaking in hypotheticals or hyperboles here. That's someone who's possessed by something. That's not a normal person. That's someone who needs an exorcism, who needs to be chained to a bed, not for monetary purposes, while they throw holy water at her, hold up a crucifix, and speak in Latin until the demon leaves her body. Voluntarily, of course. But I think it's important that we threaten this industry every now and then so we see who we need to avoid. I should see if we can get we should get a press pass next year to the Adult Video Awards and see how long it takes us to get kicked out. I'll see what Mia says. It's probably going to be a resounding no. I'll do one more here and then I'll get out because I can't talk much more. I'm sorry, guys. It's let's pull this last one up here. This is so Donald Trump has made a new proposal on credit card interest. He is proposing, along with AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley, proposing a 10% cap on credit card interest for a year. Now, everybody else wants this permanently for good, but credit card interest for a year. I don't agree with this. I don't think this is I mean, they've tried price controls on a number of other things. This is just price controls for banks. Look, guys, a credit card's interest rate is so high because it's unsecured. That's why. There's nothing backing it up. The reason that your mortgage loan is 3.5% is because the bank knows if you just one day decide, I'm not going to pay this, they're going to foreclose on your house, they're going to sell it, and they're going to recoup at least most of what they had into it. A credit card, if you go run $5,000 up on a credit card, the bank, I mean, they're going to have to sue you, and they're going to have to, or they're going to have to sell you to collections, or they're going to have to sue you, or they're going to have to try to repo your assets and garnish your wages. And sometimes that's not very easy to do, and it costs a lot of money, and it's time consuming. And so that's why your interest rate on a credit card is 27% compared to 3% on your house or 5% on your car, whatever. It's pretty simple math and economics there. If you put a 10% cap on credit cards, what you're going to see is a couple of things. Number one, the banks are not going to give out credit cards to people with low credit. So if you've got bad credit or no credit, again, we're talking about those young people that are coming out of college trying to build their lives. If you've got bad or no credit, you're not going to be able to build that credit because they're not going to, you've got a 580 credit score and a bunch of shit in collections and you never paid anybody back and you're just trying to start your life over and make right and build your credit back up so maybe one day you can have a house or a car or whatever. They're not going to give you a credit card. That's done and over with. They're not good. This is about risk aversion. They can no longer make the money back on you that they need to make the risk worthwhile, to assume that risk. That's all this is about. What they're also going to do is banks are a business, ladies and gentlemen. Banks are a business, just like anything else. You take away their money on credit cards, they're going to come up with another way to make that money back. And that's going to get passed on to people who don't like credit cards, people who don't use credit cards, people that say, I don't like credit cards. Maybe I got one for an emergency or I use it for the points or whatever, but I don't touch them. I don't do the debt thing. I'm a good steward with my money, and that's what I do. Those people are all of a sudden going to start getting mandatory account fees. You know, that like $10, look at go to your bank's website, or maybe they gave you like a pamphlet or something. It should say there's like a $5 or $10 a month fee for your account. And usually you just waive it by having a direct deposit go in or using your debit card or whatever. That's going to go away. That's going to go away. And your mortgage rate is going to be about 8% in a new home. Your interest rate in a car loan is going to be like 9%. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to make this money up elsewhere. And the only people that this is really going to help are the people that were stupid and racked up a bunch of credit card debt. Not everybody who racked up a bunch of credit card debt stupid. I understand emergencies happen. I've been there. It's happened to me. I get it. But Watch Caleb Hammer's show. You'll see the majority of the people that rack up credit card debt were people that did not need to rack up credit card debt. They were just people with low self-control, low levels of it. So the people that are going to get helped by this are the people that were stupid. And the people that are going to get fucked by this are the people who were smart and avoided high credit card debt, avoided high interest debt. Now they're going to have to pay for your stupid decisions. This is just socialism in a nutshell. That's what this is people that were smart and people who were conservative with their money and weren't stupid now have to subsidize the bad decisions of idiots. That's what socialism is. Socialism is people who did the right things subsidizing the bad decisions of stupid people. And you look at Josh Hawley, who's a Republican down in Missouri. That guy's the biggest socialist not named Bernie Sanders in the Senate. Look at the crap that comes out of this guy's mouth. Also, by the way, you know your rewards points that you guys use? You get your 3% back on gas or your airline miles or whatever. Those are gone if this happens. That's done. Credit card rewards, done. Forget about it. Over with. Now, I don't have a problem. Like, you looked at those, like, payday loan centers and whatever that were charging like 700% interest rates. Those were predatory because of the people that they targeted. But an unsecured credit card loan, I don't have an issue. Yeah, it should be 20 to 30%. There should be a fee for you buying something that you don't need or that you can't afford. Yes, you should have to pay the fee. It's giving you, the bank is lending you money to purchase something that you otherwise could not afford. Yes, you should have to pay a little bit more for it. That's how everything else works. That's how a car loan works. The only difference is this is not secured. And I can explain this to you guys till I'm blue in the face, but I can't learn it for you. So if you want to go along with this stupid policy because Trump said it or because credit card bad, then I don't know what to tell you. But this is not going to work. This is not going to work, and it's also not going to pass because there's way too many lobbyists in D.C. that'll make sure that it doesn't. I'm just telling you why this is a bad idea. Here's my advice. Stay away from the damn things. Stay away from them. Have one in case of emergencies. But if you are not, I'll give you the 3 situations where you should use one. If you've got an emergency where you genuinely don't have enough money in your savings account, if you're purchasing gas because those assholes put the skimmers on it, or if you're buying something online because you're more likely to get compromised, that's it. Otherwise, stay cash, debit card, whatever you got to do. If you can't, if you're going to overspend on it. The reason I say gas station and gas station and online shopping is because when you if your card gets hacked and they spend $500 on it, you're not out your $500, so the mortgage isn't going to be short. You're out the bank's $500, and they're going to work a lot harder to get that money back. A lot quicker too, by the way. That's my advice. Not a financial advisor. Always consult one, of course. That has been our show. I can't talk anymore, guys. I'm losing it. I will see you guys. Hopefully Wednesday will be good to go. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.